people having a minor freak out about tonight, I asked my roommate, what is your favorite movie of all time? I want everybody to picture in this room, picture your favorite movie or your favorite show. My roommate said Sound of Music, and I said picture writing in 15 minutes everything you feel about what the Sound of Music is about, all the stories surrounding it, how it's changed you as a person, and now picture yourself on a stage saying it in front of Julie Andrews and Rashid Hammerstein, and everyone who ever worked on the Sound of Music.
So wait, you like this musical? Is that what you're trying to say to us?
I'm gonna let you make jokes, but they won't go well. That's how I feel about this Merrily portion of our concert. In the past month, I spent more time thinking about this Merrily section than I did sleeping or eating or anything else. Just thinking about it. The only other time I've ever obsessed so much about a section of our concert was with Truckload, and that was because that section was a year in the making. Well, in a way, this Merrily section is 13 years in the making. Merrily We Roll Along has been my absolute #1 favorite musical of all time since I was 12 years old, a fact that has never, ever wavered. Sitting in my bedroom alone with the cast album, Boca Raton, Florida, I fell in love with the story of 3 best friends. I would line the floor for hours listening to Frank and Charlie and Mary, listening to their story being told backwards. The story followed the 3 best friends backwards from their 1980s adulthood all the way back to their idealistic salad days of 1955, reviewing the missteps and betrayals and compromises that were made along the way.
Now, Hal Prince and Stephen Sondheim have done some shows together. I don't know if you've heard of them. Perhaps Company, Follies, A Little Night Music, Pacific Overtures, and Sweeney Todd. I don't know if you guys know about those. But Hal was shaving one morning, as you do, and not his head.
I just upstaged you.
You totally just upstaged me. No one upstaged Kevin Michael Murphy. No, unless it's in Tepper. And then Merrily We Roll Along. You made that yourself, I'm assuming?
I made it with my friend Margaret for Halloween. I was Mary Flynn for Halloween. But I fully intended to wear it multiple times.
I can see me. So, okay, anyway, so Hal Prince was shaving. Back to Hal Prince and shaving. When his wife Judy suggested an adaptation of Kaufman and Hart's 1934 play, Merrily We Roll Along, as his next project. As soon as he was done shaving, there's a lot about shaving in this script, Hal called Steve, who agreed right away, faster than he had ever agreed to any project. It felt right, a show about growing up, a show about young people in America trying to hold on to their dreams and ideals. But it would be set in Hal and Steve's own time, the time when they had come of age themselves. And the center of the story would be Franklin Shepard, a man whose dream was to compose Broadway musicals. Charlie Kringus was his lyricist, and Mary Flynn their best pal and a budding author. The characters would age from their early 20s to their late 40s over the course of an evening, but would be played by young people.
And so, more than 1,500 kids came in to audition for the new Sondheim Prince George Birth musical. 26 of them were handpicked for the original 1981 Broadway cast of Merrily We Roll Along. Most of them were teenagers, and no one was older than 25. They were in utter bliss. Imagine being in high school or college and being cast in the new Sondheim Prince George Birth show. The first actor cast was a young man who used to be Hal Prince's office boy. He had invested his bar mitzvah money in Pacific Overtures. Bonnie Price.
Now, the New York Times in 1980 wrote an article called "The Uncertain Joys of a Young Actor's Life." They reported that a 21-year-old man who had survived months of callbacks from Merrily had been cast. His name was Jason Alexander. Right? Yeah, oh, this is he's so handsome in that top picture, I can't get over that.
Lonnie and his hairy fin.
Okay, anyway, Jason Alexander was cast as the producer, Joe Josephson. So within the story, after struggling for years, Frank and Charlie write a show together, which is produced by Joe. And at the stage door on opening night, they sing, "If it only even runs a minute, at least it's a wedge. It's the theater and we're really in it, not just on the edge." That's a clever line. The show is a huge hit and a turning point in the middle of the show, and it changes Frank and Charlie's lives.
This was exactly how all the young actors in the production felt. It's the theater and we're really in it. There's Hal Prince showing them the set. This experience is going to change our lives. High school sophomore Abigail Poggerman was classmates with Daisy Prince, daughter of Hal. As Abby described it, on a typical Friday night in 9th grade, Daisy would say, should we grab dinner, go see a movie, or maybe go see Evita?
You would like them.
They would go sit on the balcony steps, get snuck in, sit on the balcony steps of the Broadway theater. When Hal had this first read-through of this new Merrily show we wanted to try out, Abby and Daisy were both cast in it, and it was held on the Evita stage. Imagine. There's Hal and Daisy in rehearsal.
Now, there wasn't anything in my life I wanted more to be in than a Sondheim Prince show, Lonnie said. After being cast as Charlie, my greatest fear, and this is the God's honest truth, was that I would cross the street and get my legs run over and wouldn't be able to do the show. From the time I got the phone call until we went to rehearsals, I always waited for the light to change to green, even late at night, alone on an empty street corner.
Oh my god, I can't believe this is happening right now. Okay. While Sondheim was in the middle of writing the show, the kids that had been cast gathered at Lonnie's parents' apartment for his 22nd birthday. Sondheim came and played some of his new tunes that he was writing. He explained that he was going to play the big song that Frank and Charlie wrote together in Merrily. The characters write it when they're 26, they play it at this fancy party. It's the song that gets their foot in the door and becomes part of their hit show. Sondheim said, this is a birthday present for Lonnie, and he played Good Thing Going. What?
Good Thing Going is heard a couple of times throughout Merrily. And in the hit show Frank and Charlie Wright, Gussie sings a jazzed up, glossy version. Later in Merrily, but earlier in time, we see the time that Frank and Charlie played the song at their first big industry party. Guests shout, encore! And then when Frank and Charlie restart their sweet song, the guests yell to each other over the piano exclamations about condominiums and gardeners and martinis. Charlie tells Frank that true greatness is knowing when to get off, but Frank is thrilled by this new life he sees. He's all about the encore. This is the moment he takes a step towards changing his music to be less of his original vision. This is the moment he decides to become glossier himself. And of course, we've already seen the result of this decision because of the backwards time device.
So audiences would have to have sympathy for the man that they saw as a sellout before they actually got to see him as an idealistic kid. They would have to learn about the compromises that all of these characters made before they became invested in their dreams. It was a huge challenge, one that the team didn't understand the magnitude of yet. When the show opens, 40-something Frank is speaking to the graduating class at the high school he went to 25 years ago. He tells them what he's learned in life. Life isn't about doing the best, it's about doing the best you can. Life is about compromise. These kids in caps and gowns, there they are, sing to him, how did you get to be here? How did it happen? When was the moment?
The next time we see Frank, he's at the center of a giant party for the new film he's produced. The guests, none of whom really seem to care about Frank, sing, when a movie's that bad, what on earth can anyone say? Congratulations. Sondheim uses the same musical themes for this party as he does for the party years earlier, when Frank and Charlie are discovered. The blob of people sings about condominiums and gardeners and snorts cocaine. The blob has stayed the same, but it's Frank that has changed. Indeed, throughout the show, reprises happen before full songs, and the score develops backwards as well. The one person at this party who actually seems to care about Frank is not his wife Gussie, not the young starlet he's sleeping with either, but his old best pal Mary, who is falling down drunk. But by the end of the party, she's told him what she really thinks of him and been kicked out.
This is funny, kind of, but the blob is something that I reference in everyday life. Like my best friend Katie and I, we're always when we're being gross, we're name dropping a lot. We're ugh, I'm the blob, which I don't think anyone knows what we're talking about. So now you know. Meet the blob.